Hi, this is John Wren and the Startup Show. We're here each Friday at noon, Mountain Daylight Time, to talk about startup. And this week we're talking about the Colorado primary election that was held last Tuesday. We have gotten the ball rolling on something called Save the Caucus. There was a group with the same name back in 2002 that defeated Amendment 29. And I have reconstituted the group, at least on paperwork, to try to save the caucus again here in Colorado. We, in the legislature, were able to stop very misguided legislation. We did that 2 years in a row. And now the Colorado Senate is having hearings around the state, and we're encouraging everybody to go to that, to be informed, and to try to help give guidance to your representative. And if representatives on committees don't listen to us, we will be targeting. Now, we promised to target Tim Dorr, who was the sponsor, one of the sponsors of the legislation this spring that would have killed the caucus. We know absolutely that Tim Dorr does not like the caucus. This presidential primary idea is an end around, because we know here in Colorado that the presidential primary kills the caucus. We've tried the presidential primary in Colorado, and it killed the caucus then. It would kill the caucus now, and so we do not want the presidential primary. Now, maybe we need a straw poll, and the presidential election is a little bit different. But I think these hearings are going to come up with some good ideas that can be passed through the legislature. And we're also going to try to keep people from supporting any initiative that just goes directly to the ballot, especially some of these very misguided initiatives that do some really crazy things. So any initiative that has to do with the election, let's let the legislature have a chance to have their hearings, to think about it carefully, and let's let that come up through the normal legislative process. And anyone that is not doing that, I think, is doing a real misservice to Colorado. And, congratulations to Kimmy Lewis, who beat Tim Dorr. I don't know if we had a whole lot to do with it, really. Providence, I think, provided this phenomenal candidate, Kimmy Lewis. And Kimmy Lewis, she was unknown as a candidate. I mean, she's very well known in the district. She's been very active for years and years and years. She's a rancher, very competent person, longtime attender of the Colorado Caucus, a big supporter of it. Maybe slightly confused about a presidential primary, but I trust she's the kind of person that's going to keep an open mind as we move towards a final decision here in Colorado of, do we go to the AstroTurf of presidential primary, or do we stick with our grassroots system of the Colorado Caucus? And that's really the basic decision. And when you look at it in those terms, it's a pretty easy decision to make. We're so much in favor of the Colorado Caucus because it is the best way for the average ordinary person, maybe the owner of a small business, this type of thing, not some powerhouse backed by large corporations and others that, get their candidate in, and it's really not anything but a puppet on a string when they're that beholden to the people that have financed the campaign. But with the Colorado Caucus, it does take some resources, but those are leveraged through the power of the political party. Partisanship has gotten a bad name, and undeservedly so. Some people say the solutions to all our problems is just do away with political parties. Well, the head of government at Harvard, the government department at Harvard, it's got a very compelling talk about why that's not a good idea. You really can't pass legislation without some sort of partisanship. Now, the less partisanship, the better, and that's why the two-party system is probably the best. Or maybe it's going to become a three-party system. I don't know. That is a major change. I've said in the past, well, maybe it's better as a three-party system. I'm not sure that's true. This is a year of great opportunity. Henry Kissinger had a large column in the Wall Street Journal yesterday, and he says, this Brexit that just happened, United Kingdom leaving the European Union, causing people to really stop and reflect. And he thinks this is a great opportunity. His recent book talks about the need for clarifying American values. What does it mean to be American? And you can bet your bottom dollar that that will be the topic at both political conventions coming up for the Republicans and the Democrats. What does it mean to be a Republican? What does it mean to be a Democrat? Now, that will be the case unless, you know, something crazy happens. And if it does, who knows, we may go to a three-party system. There are Republicans that surely are not going to vote for Donald Trump, and they need a place to go. Gary Johnson, two-term governor of New Mexico. I believe you're going to see a rising star if Trump is the nominee, and that he'll, and who knows if it's, I don't know if it's going to be a merger between the Republicans and the Libertarians, but there's going to be some profound change there. Now, our part, my part, I'm the registered agents for Save the Caucus. We formed, we're able to stop the legislation in committee. We were able, and that's way overstating the case. Kimmy did it. She ran a really phenomenal campaign, worked hard. Good for her for winning. But we had said that the Republican sponsor would be targeted, and sure enough, he was defeated 70%, 30% by Kimmy Lewis. Congratulations, Kimmy. Now, if this craziness of the initiatives doesn't stop immediately, we're going to target for recall either Mayor Hickenlooper or the Secretary of State, Wayne Williams. And we will go after them as vigorously as we possibly can, unless they make public statements saying, let's give the legislature a chance to work on this. Why not have a thoughtful process? Why slam something on the ballot that's misguided and might pass, just like Brexit? You know, they pass it and then they say, oh, what have we done? Well, that could happen with our election laws here in Colorado. So don't be hoodwinked. Don't sign petitions. Don't do anything. And Wayne Williams and Mayor Hickenlooper, please be true leaders and say, let's let the Colorado legislature do its work. Yes, you'll have ideas. Take them. If you want to argue for the presidential primary, do so. But let's have the legislature decide based on full information and a thoughtful process, rather than just these half-baked ideas being slammed onto the ballot like the Denver Chamber of Commerce wants to do. I can't believe what they put on the ballot. It's outrageous. And if I was a member of the Denver Chamber of Commerce, I'd be very concerned right now. But the fact is, we may not prevail. We did prevail up to this point, but it's very possible that an initiative will get on the ballot and pass, and our wonderful caucus will be in great jeopardy. So what would change things if we bring a presidential primary back? Now, I don't in any way think that's a good idea. It's AstroTurf. It creates the illusion of political participation, but it eliminates the real power of true political participation, whereby an average ordinary person can become known in his own neighborhood, his own area, his own district, and with limited resources, be able to win and serve an elected public office. Without that mechanism in place, it's just even more so a game for the rich and the powerful. And the voice of the common person is what this country's been built on, politically and then also in business. And at the Small Business Chamber of Commerce, Inc., we try to support both things. As a virtual organization, trying to support the efforts of local chambers of commerce and others who share that common mission to strengthen the grassroots in business and politics. And right now we're absorbed with this political side of things, but it's also the business side of things. And we have we've been working on this for 20 years. 5280 magazine has said that we've infused Denver with an entrepreneurial spirit. I hope that's true, but we're packaging it now in such a way that hopefully I can pass the torch. And these little meetings that I've been doing, these little groups, can not only spread to other parts of Colorado and who knows, across the country, but that they will continue after I'm long gone. I was encouraged by, I was on a retreat in the retreat director listened to what I was doing, and he said, sounds like you're helping people, but you need to organize it in such a way that more people can get involved, take it to the next level, or when you die, it will go away. And, you know, I'm not wanting anybody to remember John Wren necessarily. I think I am just the tool of divine inspiration on this. I truly do. You know, power without authority is like a loose cannon, and that is too often the case. But authority without power is bad too. And the authority, Lou Holtz, the coach of Notre Dame football team when it was such a winning organization, Lou Holtz said that he'd never seen an outstanding player that didn't even either have one of two things, either tremendous faith in God or tremendous self-confidence. And that still is the way it is. You know, the authorization, the authority is vested either in God or in self-confidence. And anybody that knows me very well would know that that would not be self-confidence that I'm trying to hang my hat on. And the little bit of power that I have really is thanks to the internet. You know, this has enabled the average ordinary person to reach out and to truly make a difference. You know, my friend Fred's written a book called The Power of One in America, and it's even more so now with the internet. And I think we've demonstrated that back in 2002 when the 2002 version of Save the Caucus was formed. And we fought Amendment 29, which would have killed the caucus. Despite it being outspent 1,400 to 1, we won 60%, 40% because we spent virtually no money. I helped get the ball rolling. Then I just wasn't getting along with a very organized approach, which would be surprising to you, I'm sure. I'm such an organized person, but I was, and the committee and I just weren't meshing. So I started my own effort. You know, I first got involved in politics during Watergate. I went back to graduate school, and it wasn't hard to rise to the top of college Republicans back in the Watergate days. You know, I think they're much more selective than they were back there, but at that time, basically nobody wanted the job. So I held up my hand, I did it, and it was a great experience. One of the primary benefits is I helped Karl Rove do Fieldman School several times. You know, I had different people help him at different times, different places. I was in California, Oregon, Minnesota. I'd met Karl Rove when we did one at the University of Denver, right after I had come back to graduate school. And here's Karl. He'd come in, and the Fieldman School helped you understand the political process. And we need to get back to that kind of training, but I'm advocating for it here in Colorado in a bipartisan sense, focused in neighborhoods. And, you know, when we welcome people into the neighborhood, we need to welcome them into the neighborhood, but also into the Colorado political system because it is a little bit different. The League of Women Voters used to do a very good job of this, as I understand it. I wasn't there, I didn't go, but I've heard from people that now they mostly focus on various issues that are of concern to them. They don't do the citizen education that they did at one time for all people. They try to, you know, maybe help the people that are committed to the issues in the same way they are. When they first started, it was women's suffrage, and they wanted to reach out to as many as possible. And I think they were instrumental in Colorado Caucus being successful once it was adopted in 1912. Because my friend Lyle Lindesmith used to do the action class in practical politics with materials published by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And great material, but it needed someone like Lyle Lindesmith to step people through the material. And he did that for year after year after year. And I think I helped him lead one of his last sessions. And we want to try to do something like that with the power of the internet. But we need people on the ground in each political precinct to welcome newcomers in on the behalf of both political parties. And, you know, maybe all political parties, if there's, I think it's all major parties, but maybe we list state headquarters for the minor parties, something like that. We want to be fair-handed and try to help everyone, but we welcome them into the neighborhood. and we welcome them into the Colorado political process and maybe help them understand how the caucus works. Now, not everybody's going to participate in their caucus every year. If it's a young family with small kids, they may not be able to go, but we all participate by talking to our neighbors. And good neighborhoods have good caucuses. So we're going to be focusing on good neighborhoods. Neighborhood is a very, very powerful word. It's used way more than something like third way or third place. George Odiorn, is that his name? I can't remember his name, but the great good places, things, gathering places where the community comes together. We need to really be trying to nurture those as much as we can. And then it's ready for us when we have a caucus. Well, more about this later. Right now, I want to try to convince you that you should start something, even if you don't want to become affiliated with Save the Caucus or whatever we end up calling it as we move forward. Once the caucus is saved, it needs to be nurtured. And we want to try to end up with something. It probably won't be called Save the Caucus, but Nurture the Caucus, not a very, I don't know what that means myself, really. Nurture the Caucus, it's too ambiguous. Even the name caucus, it needs to be neighborhood. Now, Nextdoor.com is a free neighborhood newsletter for your neighborhood and the neighborhoods that surround you. One of the things we'll be doing is encouraging everyone to become a member of Nextdoor.com and just connect with your neighbors on the internet. That will help. If you're in an apartment building, connect with the people in your apartment building. But we're not going to be out advocating for this candidate or that candidate. The only thing that we will do is if the caucus is under attack, we will take whatever measures are necessary to defend the caucus. And if Mayor now Governor Hickenlooper, Secretary of State Wayne Williams won't come out and support the caucus until the legislature's had a chance to do its work, we'll be as vigorous as we can in the defense of the caucus, and we will target them. And I don't think that'll be necessary. Especially Wayne Williams, I think, is a terrific person. I think he's kind of gotten onto this. It's maybe stirred the pot in a very helpful way. And there's certainly no hard feelings up to this point. But if at this point he doesn't put on the brakes and say, this is the legislature's job. They're going to be doing this. We'll have our ideas. We've expressed them. We'll express them again. We'll maybe even draft legislation for their consideration, but it needs to go through the legislature. And then if the legislature doesn't do what the people of Colorado want, yes, then an initiative. That's how initiatives are supposed to work. But to go straight to the ballot with especially this crazy Denver Chamber of Commerce proposal is just wrong. And there's a guy in California that says if that gets on the ballot, he'll put $1 million into the campaign. We'd have to raise $1 million to oppose it. And aren't there better ways to use $2 million than to have some sort of a political fight like that? I think so. So why can't we all just get along? Let's do that. That's what we're going to be trying to do, is to put together a third way to participate in your local neighborhood. There are the Republicans and there are Democrats, and good people in both parties, good ideas in both parties. I'm not opposed to either one. Now, there's fringe elements in both parties that kind of cross a line into some wackiness. You can have wacky of the right and wacky of the left, and nobody's for that hardly, except wacky people. And 99.9% of Americans are not wacky, although it is that 0.1% that the media likes to focus on and encourage the fights. But this third way to participate, whatever we call it, maybe it's, there's the Peace Corps and the Jobs Corps. Maybe this is the Caucus Corps or the Neighborhood Corps. Neighborhood Corps would be a much better name, not the Caucus Corps, the Neighborhood Corps. But we're going to be looking for volunteers to take on their particular neighborhood and do a couple of things. One is welcome newcomers, make sure they are welcome to the neighborhood, make sure they know where the political people are that they could participate, and let them know how they can get more information about the Colorado political system and how it works. Maybe recommend the League of Women Voters, other resources But we'll also, as Save the Caucus, and what we're doing now is the Small Business Chamber of Commerce, Inc., we will be doing civic education as part of our mission. And we'll be doing it here in Colorado, across the state. And we're going to try to, as quickly as possible, combine with other caucus states, because Save the Caucus needs to go beyond the Colorado borders. Now, this education piece and this going beyond our own borders piece was brought up after Save the Caucus back in 2002, and everybody just got too busy with other things going on. And everyone thought, well, no, the political parties will just do a good job of it. And really, you know, it is the political parties' job to educate their members on how the caucus system works. But sometimes you don't want, if you've got all your ducks lined up, you don't necessarily want a lot of new ducks coming in. So the outreach to the newcomer has suffered. And especially, I mean, this last caucus was just atrocious. And it was intentionally that way. Both state party chairs should be taken to task because they created the chaos of March 1st. And, you know, they were on TV the weekend before the convention, and they were saying how bad the caucus was. And yeah, guess what? It was just terrible, because they're on TV talking about how bad the caucus was instead of out doing the work that they should have been doing, working with their county chairs, their district chairs, getting the precinct leaders trained. Now, there were still good precinct experiences, you know, because you bring neighbors together for a couple of hours and talk about things that matter, good stuff happens. And that's what we'll be asking our volunteers to do, is to precipitate small meetings that take place during the year. Maybe it's just social. I'm partial to something called an alarm clock party. You have neighbors come together, call it an alarm clock party, because you set the alarm clock for 1 hour, and when the clock goes off, everyone leaves, because you don't want a long lingering meeting that nobody wants to come back to next month. So there's that. There's Socrates Cafe. Now, the groups that we try to precipitate for business purposes is part of this repackaging in the Small Business Chamber of Commerce. We call it the Small Business Chamber of Commerce method. And it's a method to start, grow, and flourish in your business or in your political career or in your career working for a large corporation. But everything seems to follow this pattern of, first, there's a recovery. Almost always something good comes out of something bad happening. Have you ever noticed that? You get fired from a job and find an even better job. But there's sometimes a need to get back on our feet. We recover, we get back on our feet. Our imagination is fired. We get an idea of what we're going to do. We think about it. We figure out how to make this work. Is it the path we want to go down? And then we learn. Now, starting a business is a learning project. And some people think it's the best form of adult education. And in the learning piece, we talk about modern adult self-directed learning methods, where instead of bringing an expert in, the group facilitates each other's own independent learning. That's different than autodidactism. Wikipedia, if you go to Wikipedia and look up self-directed learning, directs you to autodidactism. I've fought them on this. I can't get them to change, but it's a bias they have. And I think partly it's fueled by colleges and universities that see that if the power of self-directed learning catches on, the kind of thing Malcolm Knowles talked about that was so popular at one time, if that reignites, you know, it can hurt their enrollment. And it shouldn't. I think the more someone knows, the more they see the true value of a good liberal arts education. But as far as a lot of the things schools are trying to make money from, you know, you can learn those on your own faster. You learn them better, and it's cheaper. And you don't have to look for the class that's being offered on exactly the topic you want. You just go to it right now. So the learning piece in our method is focused on the self-directed learning. We have Franklin circles. That is one way to do them. If you just Google how to start a Franklin circle, that's something that we try to maintain, and you'll see information there. You could go start one right now if you wanted. But sometimes it's better to start a Socrates Cafe or an Idea Cafe to try to attract people that would be interested to be in your Franklin circle. and we can help you do any of those groups. Now, if you'd like to know more about the Small Business Chamber of Commerce, how we work and how we could possibly help you, take a look at our website, smallbizchamber.org. And or give me a call, Monday or Tuesday, give me a call. And we like to have people on the show from time to time. If you'd like to be on the show to talk about how you've gotten started, about your thoughts on any of the things we've talked about today, please give me a call, Monday or Tuesday. It's John Wren, 303-861-1447. This afternoon, I have an Instructed Idea Cafe at Panera Bread Lodo, that's 16th and Market, downtown Denver. That's from 4:30 to 6. Right after, there's a Socrates Cafe from 6 to 7:30. So come if you'd like to experience those groups. And tomorrow at the University of Denver and the Anderson Academic Learning Commons, there is a Socrates Cafe. And that starts at 6:30 on Saturdays. And Franklin Circle is a little bit of a different animal. We have to look for like-minded learners, people with a common interest. Google how to start a Franklin Circle and just go start one, or give me a call. I'd be glad to help you get one going. And again, that's John Wren, 303-861-1447. We're just about out of time. I've got to get headed downtown for the Idea Cafe and the Socrates Cafe. Hope to see you maybe this afternoon if you're here in Denver, or tomorrow at the University of Denver. And we'll be back here next Friday for the Startup Show. And we may have made some progress. If you're going to start an alarm clock party, a neighborhood group of any kind. Oh, and the one last thing, a new thing we're doing is the Donut Club. And that's at the University Station, RTD University Station, right across from the University of Denver. From 10 to 10:15, we have Duffy Rolls. So come and have a Duffy Roll with us. If you're riding by on a light rail, you can hop off, get a Duffy Roll, hop back on the next light rail train. I mean, we won't hand it to you as you go by, but get off, say hello, and we'll have some people there for you to say hello to that live in the University Station apartments. And it's a wonderful place to live. You might be interested in, who knows, taking a look. There's a waiting list right now, but take a look at University Station apartments. And we're going to try to work with the idea of this University Station as the center of a neighborhood. They have transit-oriented development. Maybe there needs to be transit-oriented neighborhoods. And maybe there's going to be a realignment of neighborhoods and political districts so that it becomes a little bit more understandable to the average ordinary person. Well, that's it for today. We'll be here next Friday at noon. We're always on cocaucus.org, or you can find a link on my Facebook page. Facebook is John S. Wren, and I'd love to be your Facebook. I'm Twitter at John S. Wren, and I'd love to be your Twitter follower. If you follow me, I'll follow you back. Or call me anytime, 303-861-1447. So this is John Wren signing off and reminding you this life is very short. Let's go get started. Thanks for watching.